Recently, I started reading a story called Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, and after reading 250 chapters of the Manwha, and now currently reading the novel, I liked it so much that I thought I should make videos explaining the story so more people can be introduced. When I went looking for videos, I found they were all quite long and badly paced. I wanted to make videos that could be consumed quickly, get to the point, and make people want to read the series for themselves. So without further ado, let's get into the explanation. The story starts with the protagonist who explains that his name is Kim Dokja, and 9 times out of 10, people misunderstand him thinking that he's saying that he is an only child, as the name Dokja means independent. Dokja comments that his father gave it to him because he wanted to become a strong and independent person, but in the end it was a curse. Dokja failed in life and graduated from a third-rate college and got employed as a contractor in a toxic corporation. To escape from life, he read novels. One such novel that he had been reading for over 10 years with over 3,000 chapters, 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse, or TWSA for short. Over the course of 10 years, the novel's views began to get lower and lower until by chapter 100, Dokja was the only reader left. It was as if the novel was made solely for him. But this day was different. This was the day when TWSA's final chapter was released. Dokja stared at his phone as he read the final words of TWSA. That was when he was interrupted by a woman who commented on Dokja's addiction to his phone. The woman was Sangha Yu from HR at the company Dokja worked at. Dokja and Sangha engage in a conversation about the train and the company, but Dokja cannot stop thinking about how unbelievable it is that he ran into her, the most popular girl at his work. Dokja asks her if she usually takes the subway home, to which Sangha responds by saying she usually rides her bike home, but someone had stolen. During their brief interaction, Dokja understands why so many of the guys at the company are head over heels to her, but it doesn't concern him as they both have different lives. As Dokja once again looks at his phone, Sangha randomly says a phrase in Spanish which translates to, "Please lend me some money," and it is revealed that she is studying Spanish. She asks Dokja what he is reading and asks if it is a novel, to which he lies and says he is studying Korean. Sangha explains that she loves novels and lists off her favorite authors, then asks Dokja who his favorites are, to which he replies that she wouldn't know. Dokja once again looks at his phone and mentions that it is a special day for him because it's the day TWSA's final chapter came out. A novel he started when he was in 8th grade, a novel that stuck with him through all his hard times, such as when he was bullied or when he had to serve the military. A story that had practically become his life. He had tried to recommend it throughout its release, but others would only criticize him. When Dokja read the final chapter, he wanted to donate some money to the author as a thanks, but he couldn't, so instead wrote a short comment thanking the author and displaying his excitement for the epilogue. Dokja is once again interrupted by Sangha and starts talking once more about the company. It is revealed that it had been 1 year since both Dokja and Sangha started working for the company, and Sangha had been promoted to a full-time employee. Dokja congratulated her and thought about how if she were a character in a novel, then she would be the heroine. Dokja then wondered if his life were in a different genre, if he didn't live in a non-fiction world and instead fantasy, could he have been the protagonist? He immediately shuts down the thought. His life was non-fiction and he was no protagonist, only a reader. At that moment, Dokja received a message on his phone. A simple thank you from an account named TLS123, the author of 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse. The author tells Dokja that because of his persistence throughout the novel's serialization, they were able to finish their story and win a prize in a contest. Dokja, confused, asks what kind of contest, to which the author replies that he wouldn't have heard of it. He then adds that now that the novel was done, it would become paid content soon, and he wanted to give Dokja a special gift as a token of gratitude. Dokja gives the author his email and immediately receives a new message. Mr. Dokja Kim, starting at 7 PM today, TWSA will become paid content. This will help you. I wish you all the best. Dokja noted that it was now 6:55. 7 PM was only 5 minutes away. He got back on his phone to view TWSA once more, only to find that it was already gone. Did they remove series without prior notice when they become paid content, he thought? Suddenly the train comes to a stop and lights turn off. People scream. Some wonder if it is a terrorist attack. Dokja asked Sangha if she was okay and checked the time. It was 7 PM. The train intercom activated. Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. Please evacuate. Sangha asked Dokja what was going on, but he didn't reply. There was something far too familiar to him. Suddenly a voice sounded over the intercom. The free scenario of the 8612th planetary system has come to an end. The main scenario will now begin. It was at that moment that the genre of Dokja's life changed. "It's a Dokkaebi," someone exclaimed as the creature sprung into view. As the subway stopped and the cabin grew dark, Dokja could not stop thinking about one sentence in his head. The opening line of a story far too familiar to him. "Two small horns. A dowry creature wearing a straw garment was floating midair. It was too peculiar to be called a fairy, too malicious to be called an angel, and too innocent looking to be a devil. So it was." Suddenly there was a bright flash of light and a creature materialized. Dokja was in disbelief. "So we called it a Dokkaebi." It was at that moment that fiction and reality overlapped. The Dokkaebi began to speak in an unintelligible mix of characters. No one knew what was going on, that was except for Dokja. It was the Dokkaebi that appeared in the opening chapter of 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse, the creature that started the tragedy that was to come. Sangha believed it was speaking Spanish and asked Dokja if she should talk to it. Dokja immediately shut her down. Suddenly the Dokkaebi spoke in a language they could understand.
Testing. Can everyone hear me? Gosh. The language patch was malfunctioning for a bit. Can everyone hear me?
The Dokkaebi was quickly interrupted by a man who asked if the Dokkaebi was filming a movie and expressed his need to get to his audition. The Dokkaebi only laughed and mentioned the paywall once more. No one knew what it was talking about. The Dokkaebi stated that he had something very important to tell everyone, to which anger erupted in the crowd. One such child even asked their mother if the Dokkaebi was a cartoon. Doksha knew what was going to happen. He had to stop them from talking. He told Senga not to move and the Dokkaebi once again started talking.
I'm sure it's noisy here, isn't it? I told you to be quiet.
Heads explode all over the subway cabin.
We're not filming a movie. This isn't a dream or a novel, and it certainly isn't a reality that you are all familiar with.
Doksha was now certain that it was what he thought. He didn't want to admit it, but his disbelief faded as the blood pooled onto the floor. The Dokkaebi stated that everyone had lived comfortable lives up until now, but that time was now over.
Nothing is free in life.
Suddenly, a man approached the Dokkaebi and asked if it wanted money. Doksha noted that the man was Mr. Han from the finance team at the company he worked at. The man offered 2 million, but the Dokkaebi declined and simply snapped his fingers, creating a fire that burned the money in the man's hands. The Dokkaebi explains that money has no value in the new world and lets the man off with a warning. If he ever pulls a stunt like that again, then his head will be blown up. The Dokkaebi sighs and snaps his fingers. Channel #BI-7623 has opened. The constellations are now making an entrance. Blue holograms appeared in front of everyone, displaying a cryptic message. The main scenario has arrived. Prove your value. Kill 1 or more living organisms. Penalty for failure? Death. The Dokkaebi wished everyone luck and expressed its expectation for an interesting story. Then in the same flash of light it appeared in, it had disappeared. Murmurs erupted. Sanga tried to call the police, but they wouldn't pick up. Doksha told her to stay calm and likened it to a game that the development team at his company was currently working on. He told her that they were now part of this game and all they had to do was follow the rules. But first they had to figure out the rules. Doksha thought about what had just happened.
A Dokkaebi with antennae, a litter of dead bodies in the subway cabin, trembling office workers covered in blood, an old lady praying fervently in her seat.
Doksha could no longer deny it. TWSA was becoming a reality.
What do I need to do to survive?
He thought. In the chaos, someone took charge. He told everyone to calm down and ask for their attention. He expressed the severity of the situation and the need for someone to take charge. He then showed his ID. He was an army lieutenant who was currently serving in the unit 6502. He stated that he just received a message from his unit that explained that it was a level 1 national emergency and that he was trying to contact the army base but couldn't, nor could he contact the president. Meanwhile, Doksha was shaken. He knew that man, for that man was Lieutenant Hyung-sung Lee, or as he knew him by, the Steel Blade, one of the main supporting characters in TWSA. Doksha was in disbelief that a character from TWSA was now in reality, but questioned if this was really how he was first introduced. He was certain that Hyung-sung Lee had not appeared at this moment. Doksha knew that he only became a character after the first scenario.
What's going on?
He thought.
If I could just read it again, I would know exactly what's happening.
Suddenly, someone shouted that the Prime Minister is making a speech.
Dear citizens of Korea, there have been reports of unidentified terrorist attacks in Seoul, as well as in many other areas of the country.
Doksha remembered this from the story. At the time, he thought the speech would be believable to the citizens of South Korea, but now that he was hearing it, it sounded ridiculous. People wondered why it was the Prime Minister speaking and not the President, to which someone replied that they heard the terrorists had already got him. Someone claimed that that was a groundless rumor, but Doksha knew the truth. The Prime Minister's head exploded and the broadcast ended. The Dokkaebi once again showed up inside the cabin and expressed its frustration at the passengers.
I already told you. This is not some kind of joke, like terrorism. Do you think we're playing a game right now? According to my research, people in this country are good at games. Then let's raise the difficulty.
A holographic timer appeared in the center of the cabin and rapidly ticked down from 30 minutes all the way to 10. The remaining time has been reduced. You now have 10 minutes left.
As an added penalty, if the first death does not occur within the next 5 minutes, every living organism in this cabin will be terminated.
Chaos once again erupted in the crowd and Hyung-sung once again tried to calm them. Doksha noted that it was going exactly as he remembered, but something was still off. Hyung-sung Lee had already appeared, but he hadn't. If Doksha's memory was correct, then he should be appearing any moment now. Blood splattered on the window in the cabin behind. Someone in there had been killed. In Doksha's cabin, someone tried to block the door with their hand, only to be zapped with yellow electricity. There was some kind of invisible force on the door. No one may enter the cabin or leave until the scenario is complete. The Dokkaebi, angered at the fact that the cabin still hadn't begun killing one another, snapped its fingers to get the ball rolling. Another hologram appeared, a broadcast of a school classroom. Someone noted that it was Taepong Girls High School. Suddenly, chaos erupted in the classroom. You have exceeded the time limit. Proceeding with checkout. Everyone's heads exploded except one girl in the classroom clutching the neck of one of her fellow classmates. The survivor of the channel #BAY-23515 is Jihye Lee, a second-year student from Class B at Taepong Girls High School. The broadcast closed and the Dokkaebi asked what everyone thought. People began to move towards one another with bloodlust in their eyes. Doksha was thrown off. He still wasn't here. If he could just read TWSA once more, then he could know what was going on. A thought crossed Doksha's mind. He raced to the email that the author sent him and found an attached file, 3 ways to survive the apocalypse.txt. Doksha rubbed his eyes in disbelief. This was the present that the author had gifted him. After opening the attachment, a hologram appeared in front of Doksha. You have received an exclusive attribute. A skill slot has been unlocked. Doksha noted that each of TWSA's survivors receive a special attribute and skill linked to the attribute. It was just like a game.
Attribute window.
Doksha thought. Attributes window cannot be opened. Doksha didn't know what was going on. He tried some more, but it still wouldn't open, so he gave up and started to read the attached file. Suddenly another message appeared. Your attribute has now been activated. You are now able to read at a faster speed. Doctor's eyes turned blue as he read the first chapters of TWSA in under a minute. It was then that he realized that the cabin the events of the start of the story had taken place in was cabin 3707. He was in cabin 3807. The reason why the events were different was because he was in a different cabin. The cabin that the story had originally happened in was the cabin behind. Doctor wondered what happened to the people in his cabin in the original story.
He took a peek at the chaos and confusion that was happening in subway cabin 3807. It's probably too late for them after all. Only 2 people will survive in that cabin.
At that moment, the killing began in Doctor's cabin. A man with white hair picked up an elderly lady and punched her. Doctor knew who the 2 who would survive were. If something wasn't done, then he and Sanger would die. Mr. Han grabbed the man with white hair's arm and told him to stop, to which the man with white hair replied that he didn't get it. No one was going to save them and someone had to die. They had to be the ones to pick who would die.
It's kill or be killed. Think wisely. The world you knew just ended, and in this new world, we have new rules to follow.
Doctor knew this man as Namroon Kim, one of the earliest adopters of the new world in TWSA. Namroon continued to beat up the elderly woman, but no one stopped him, for they knew he was right. If no one died within the next 5 minutes, then everyone else would die. Doctor remembered a line he had read a long time ago.
Executioners pull the leather of the electric chair at the same time. They do so in order to conceal who really killed the prisoner.
As Doctor witnessed more and more people start to beat up the woman, he thought that it was as if he was reading that part of the novel. The elderly woman would end up becoming the first victim, but Doctor thought, was it really okay to let her die just so he and everyone else could live? Sanger tried to rush in to stop the fighting, but Doctor stopped her.
If you go, they'll kill you too.
Doctor acknowledged Sanger's bravery, but in the end, she could not change the course of the story, because she wasn't the heroine. Doctor told Sanger to stay where she was, promising to never bother her again so long as she'd listen to him just this once. Doctor took a deep breath and looked at the situation unfolding. It was too early for him to intervene. The reason he hadn't interfered sooner wasn't because of Namroon Kim or because he condoned their savage ways. It was because he was waiting for the right moment. Suddenly, there was an explosion in the cabin behind. This was the moment Doctor had been waiting for. He ran forward towards the crowd and shoved them all away from the woman. He noted that it may seem like he pushed Namroon Kim to save the old lady, but that wasn't the only thing he had been aiming for. He looked around and found what he was looking for. A kid holding a container. Doctor ran towards the kid and reached into the container, giving the kid a handful of what was inside and taking the rest for himself. He then stood up and shouted to the rest of the cabin.
Please stop what you were doing. Killing that old lady doesn't mean you're going to live. Let's say we kill the old lady. What next? Yes. If that old lady dies, we will be able to buy some time because we killed something within the given time of it. But what will happen next? If what the Dokubi said was true, it means we all have to kill one person each. So who will you kill? Will you kill the person besides you?
Namroon Kim steps forward.
Isn't it obvious? We'll kill losers like you next.
Doctor knew he would say that, and so he proposed an alternative.
Why gamble with our lives when there's a way to survive this without becoming a murderer?
Questions erupted in the crowd.
Have you forgotten this scenario didn't say we had to kill a human being? It said we had to kill one or more living organisms.
Doctor held an insect between his fingers. Everyone immediately knew what he meant. If they killed the insects, then they could survive. Now the madness that they had been hurtling towards the old lady was now coming towards Doctor. But even through this, Doctor wasn't scared. He was smiling.
Was I always this kind of person?
He killed the insect in his hand and threw away the container, insects falling out and onto the ground. The first kill mission has been accomplished. You will receive 100 coins as bonus. Everyone began to look for the insects in a frenzy, except for Namroon Kim, who instead approached Doctor and asked why he had done that when he could have just handed over the bugs.
There were only 3 insects left in that box.
Namroon Kim laughed.
So you threw them, since not all of us can live.
Yes.
Namroon looked at Doctor with an evil grin on his face. He didn't believe that Doctor would pull something like that just for that reason.
Be honest. You just wanted to watch them fight for their lives, didn't you?
Suddenly a message appeared in front of Doctor. Personal skill, character profile activated. A panel appeared in front of Doctor listing off all of Namroon Kim's attributes, skills, stats, and provided a general evaluation of who he was as a character. Doctor noted that Namroon Kim had the edgelord attribute, something somewhat uncommon in TWSA due to most of those with it committing suicide early, but Namroon Kim was different. He would later be bestowed with the nickname Delusional Demon and adapted to the world at an illusional speed.
Team up with me.
A message appeared in front of Doctor. Namroon Kim has expressed interest in you. Your understanding of Namroon Kim has increased.
Sorry, I work alone.
Doctor noted that if he hadn't read TWSA, he probably would have made a different choice. But Doctor is a reader who knows about him and his future. Namroon tells Doctor to get out of his way because he has unfinished business with the old lady, but Doctor stops him. Namroon Kim asks him if he's now trying to act like a hero or if he has a split personality. It was at that moment that Doctor realized just how much he hated Namroon Kim as a character in TWSA.
People like you make me sick.
A message appears. Namroon Kim despises you. Your affinity towards Namroon Kim has slightly decreased. Namroon throws a fist towards Doctor.
I said move.
Doctor noticed a purple aura enveloping Namjoon Kim's fist. This was the skill of the Edgelord attribute, Grimdark Awakening. Doctor couldn't believe he had already activated it. Doctor dodged and Namjoon Kim looked at his own fist in awe at how strong he was. Doctor now realized why the protagonist of 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse had recruited him, despite the fact that he's a psychopath. Your understanding of Namjoon Kim has increased. You have unlocked level 1 of your personal skill, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. Doctor was in disbelief. It was a skill he didn't know. Namjoon continued to try to attack Doctor, but he kept on dodging.
Why aren't you getting hit?
Level 1 of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint activated. Doctor could now read Namjoon Kim's attacks almost like they were words in a novel. Right shoulder. He dodged to the side. In the face. He dodged backwards. In that moment, all Doctor could do was dodge. He just had to hold out a little bit longer. There was now 2 minutes left. Namjoon Kim looked at the old lady and Doctor realized he had to protect her. If Namjoon Kim kills the old lady, then he would move on to the next scenario, something that Doctor could not let happen. Namjoon Kim predicted Doctor's move and pulled out a knife. Heart. Doctor dodged to the side with the old lady in his arms, but he couldn't dodge the knife completely and it cut his shoulder. It hurts, but he had to keep pushing through it. Doctor knew that death was right around the corner. This was now a world based on survival of the fittest, but to Doctor, it had always been like that. The strong would always prey on the weak. Nothing had changed. Rather, the rule had become clearer. If Doctor wanted to survive, he must also adhere to that rule. Namjoon Kim once again began to approach him, so he proposed a question.
Is an insect egg also an organism?
Namjoon Kim responded with confusion.
What the hell are you suddenly talking about?
The answer is yes.
Doctor crushed a handful of insect eggs in his hand. Messages bombarded him. You have killed an organism. You obtained 100 bonus coins.
How am I supposed to know that?
Asked Namjoon Kim as he struck another blow with his knife towards Doctor. Would you like a tutorial on coin usage?
Skip.
Doctor thought.
And I will invest 2,700 coins into my stamina.
A message appeared. Doctor's stamina had grown from level 1 all the way to level 10. Your physical durability has greatly increased. Namjoon Kim's knife struck Doctor's chest but didn't penetrate it.
What? How?
Namjoon Kim was confused. Doctor simply replied with random knowledge on grasshoppers, that they lay over 100 eggs at a time during mating season. He then looked back at Namjoon Kim with a cold glaze.
I'm not the one who's gonna die. You are.
The timer had now ticked down to less than 1 minute. Namjoon Kim kept slashing at Doctor, but none of the attacks were penetrating. Timer slowly ticked down until it eventually reached 4, then 2, and then finally 0. The time has run out. Proceeding with checkout. Namjoon Kim screamed as his head exploded. Main scenario number 1. Prove your worth has ended. Number of survivors? 5. Just quickly before I start the next segment, I found that the AI voices were too difficult to do consistently, so for this next segment, I will be voicing the characters myself. I am not a voice actor, so please be respectful. Now for the next segment. The Dokkaebi reappeared, fascinated at the mess that had been made in the train cabin. The first main scenario had now been completed, and the survivors were listed. Cheonsung Lee, Sang-a Yu, Gil-gyong Lee, Young-go Han, and Doctor Kim. Doctor stared at Namjoon Kim's lifeless body and remembered his desperate pleas to survive. At that moment, he realized that Namjoon Kim was right. Doctor was just like him, and could have saved all those people that had died. He would be lying if he said he didn't feel guilty. But even through all of this, he thought it to be strange that he was able to remain so calm. It felt to him as though he was still a reader and not actively partaking in it. A message appeared. You slaughtered 124 living organisms. Due to killing non-resistant organisms, the number of coins you obtained has been halved. You have obtained 6,200 coins. The coins you used to level up your stats will be deducted. You have obtained 3,500 coins. You have unlocked the achievement Decimated due to excessive slaughtering. You have obtained 300 coins as a basic clear reward. 100 coins have been deducted for the channel usage fee. Additional rewards will be calculated. The train started to move once more and the light seeped into the cabin. The world they had once known had collapsed and a new world was in the making, and Doctor was the only reader who knew how the world was going to end. Mr. Han and Sanger looked out the window to see a giant sea monster. Mr. Han started to scream and exclaimed that it was coming for them. Doctor knew this creature. It was called an ichthyosaur, also known as a sea serpent. Later on, it would be classified as a grade 7 monster in TWSA. Doctor wasn't scared by its appearance. He knew that the world of TWSA prioritizes scenarios over anything else. This means that they wouldn't be attacked by the monster as it was not a part of the story. Doctor looked to the sky and counted the stars. There were 21 in total. No wonder he's so happy, said Doctor. These stars represent the amount of constellations who were watching the channel. Constellations were described to be the most mysterious creatures in the world of TWSA, the masterminds behind the tragedy, the viewers of the Dokkaebi's livestreams. Doctor noted that in the original story, Namjoon Kim had killed almost everyone in the cabin. Due to the death of Namjoon Kim, 2 constellations feel slightly hostile towards you. Doctor knew that some constellations must be furious about the outcome, and because of his interference, there was also a delay in his payment. Doctor thought about how unbelievable his situation was. Just the other day, he was in their position, but now they were the ones who were watching him. A few constellations are impressed with your scenario. The constellations have gifted you 500 coins. Doctor knew all too well. If there were constellations that hated him, there would also be those who support him. Doctor, are you okay? Said Sanger. Sanger rushed over the doctor and offered her hand to help him off the ground. "I'm sorry, I couldn't save the old lady," said Doctor. Sanger questioned Doctor's calmness and thanked him for earlier. She was only alive because Doctor had thrown the container towards her and she was lucky enough to pick up an insect. Doctor brushed off her thanks. "It was just a coincidence," Doctor said. "It won't happen again." Doctor didn't know exactly what she was thinking, but she probably understood what he had said. Because of Doctor's choice, some lived and some died. He didn't deserve the gratitude of the survivors. Suddenly, the Dokkaebi reappeared and congratulated the survivors in a cheerful manner. "Oh my! Thank you for the sponsorships, dear Constellations. I can't believe there are 21 Constellations watching my channel." Doctor noted that there were 5 survivors, much more than he thought there would be. He had expected Hyungsung Lee to survive at the very least, but was unsure about the others. Doctor turned his head towards a young kid, the same one who had been holding the container full of insects. "Gil-yong Lee, that must be his name," Doctor thought. Doctor put his hand on Gil-yong's shoulder and asked, "Hey kid, do you want to live?" The kid didn't speak but simply nodded. "Then let's team up. A few Constellations are impressed with your good deed. The Constellations have gifted you 200 coins. Doctor knew what was going to happen next, and if he wanted to survive, he needed the attention of the Constellations. The Dokkaebi commented on how interesting of a day it had been and mentioned that the guy in the next cabin was a total nutcase. "Then, are you gonna let us go now?" asked Mr. Han. "We did everything you asked for." The Dokkaebi thought for a moment and questioned why Mr. Han would want to leave in the first place. "Haven't you seen what's going on outside?" At the moment, the Ishthio saw outside roared, causing Mr. Han to back away from the Dokkaebi in fear. "Anyways, I'm impressed," said the Dokkaebi. "I didn't have any expectations for this cabin, but you all survived the first scenario. You have proven that even bugs desire to survive." The Dokkaebi smiled. "Of course, every hardship deserves a reward. The reward for the first scenario is that you are now qualified to be sponsored by the Constellation." No one knew what he was talking about. No one except for Doctor knew what a Constellation or sponsor was. The Dokkaebi explained. "All of you are so terribly weak right now. If you were to just move on to the next scenario in this state, you would be killed by a weak ground rat, let alone a croc. But there are great beings in this world who pity you and wish to sponsor you. Do you understand?" Still, no one in the cabin seemed to understand. The Dokkaebi, still annoyed, snapped his fingers so everyone could see for themselves. Panels appeared in front of everyone. "Sponsor selection. Select a constellation. The selected constellation will be your reliable sponsor." Doctor noted he had 4 options: Abyssal Black Flame Dragon, Demonic Judge of Fire, Secretive Plotter, and Prisoner of the Golden Headband. "Doctor, 2 strange options suddenly popped up." Doctor lied to Sanger and said that he didn't know anything either and that she should treat it like an aptitude test. He noted that Sanger was lucky for having 2 options. At this point, most people wouldn't even have 1. The sponsor selection was one of the main events in TWSA. It is the system in which the Constellations watch them through the Dokkaebi's channels and pick a human they like as their incarnation and sponsor them. In Doctor's case, there were 4 Constellations who wanted to sponsor him as their incarnation. Doctor was happy for his 4 options as the protagonist originally only had 5 options, so 4 wasn't a small number at all. Constellations of TWSA never revealed their true names. It was up to Doctor and the others to deduce it for themselves using their nicknames as hints. But Doctor already knew their identities because he was a reader. First constellation was the Abyssal Black Flame Dragon. He was a powerful constellation that leads the constellation group Black Cloud. Doctor noted that his true name was quite long and couldn't remember it. Considering that certain constellations could increase stats and the Abyssal Black Flame Dragon improved stamina and strength, it would be wise for Doctor to select him as a sponsor. But that was where the benefits ended. The more a constellation's power was used, the more the user lost their senses. In the end, an incarnation of the Abyssal Black Flame Dragon would become a psychotic killer, and this made him a particularly powerful sponsor for those with the Edgelord attribute. Doctor noted that in the original novel, he had chosen Namru Kim as his incarnation, but why had he chose Doctor? Doctor was unsure about choosing him, so he moved on to the next constellation of his list, Demonic Judge of Fire. Just from the name, one might assume the sponsor to be a demon, but ironically, the nickname Demonic meant the constellation wasn't a demon. The words Fire and Judge indicate that this entity makes judgment through fire. That means that she's actually Archangel Uriel. Doctor noted that she wasn't a bad choice, but he would first explore the other options. The third on his list was a constellation Doctor didn't know, Secretive Flutter, a constellation that had never once been mentioned in TWSA. Doctor was certain it was not a powerful being and so decided to move on. Prisoner of the Golden Headband. Doctor couldn't believe that this constellation had already made an offer. Whilst its name may sound negative at first, the proper noun was what was important. Golden Headband was the smallest prison in the world, and the prisoner was none other than the great sage, Heaven's Equal, Sung Wukong. Doctor remembered an excerpt from the novel about a character who had this constellation as their sponsor.
He has the power to crush hundreds of incarnations with his staff, and eradicating thousands of monsters with a single lightning bolt.
Doctor knew that if he chose the Great Sage as his sponsor, then he could surely beat him. At that moment, the sponsor selection ended. The Dokkaebi asked if everyone was done and mentioned that someone had made an interesting choice. Since everyone was now done in selecting the scenarios, the Dokkaebi said he would now prepare for the upcoming scenario. "See you in 10 minutes. With that, the Dokkaebi disappeared. "Everyone, please gather around," said Doctor holding out his hand. "I'm Hyungsung Lee, Dr. Kim." They shook hands. Hyungsung Lee told Doctor that it was nice to meet him and told Doctor what he had already known. Doctor took notice of his grip during the handshake. It was strong, but Doctor wasn't surprised. After all, he was a tanker in the earlier stages of TWSA. For this reason, he needed to recruit Hyungsung Lee. Hyungsung Lee thanked Doctor. If it wasn't for Doctor, they would all be dead by now. He mentioned that even if they had survived through that method, then he didn't think they would have deserved to live as humans. A hand grabbed Doctor's shoulder. "Doctor, you know who I am, right?" It was Myung-go Han. Myung-go Han corrected Doctor. "You should call me Mr. Han." but Doctor wasn't at work anymore. He didn't have to. Myung-go Han criticized Doctor and asked if he was no longer going to work.
Shut up, Myung-go Han.
He froze up and only got angrier. Doctor explained to Myung-go Han that Minosoft, the company that they had worked at, no longer existed, and conveyed the severity of their situation. Hyung-sung Lee mentioned that it was the kind of thing that he read about in novels and couldn't believe it was now real. He asked if it was a dream, but Doctor only told him what should have been obvious. It was reality.
So what now? Do you have any ideas, Doctor?
Hyung-sung Lee has started to trust you. Your understanding of Hyung-sung Lee has increased.
We have to get out of here.
Doctor said. Outside the window, the ichthyosaur roared.
Are you out of your mind?
Said Hyung-sung Lee.
Doctor, I think that's a bit... If we leave, we're gonna get killed.
Said Sanger. Everyone seemed to be against it. At that moment, someone slammed on the door behind. Doctor knew that the person on the other side of the door was a sole survivor of Subway Cabin 3707, and to him it was quite obvious who that was.
He's coming.
Doctor thought.
The true protagonist of the story. We have to get out of here. If we don't leave right now, we're all going to die before the next scenario.
Banging on the door continued.
Doctor, we can't be sure that whatever is on the other side of that door is the enemy.
If Doctor hadn't read TWSA, he too might have believed that. But he knew that beyond the door was someone that he didn't want to mess with just yet.
He's a survivor who killed all those people in his cabin. Do you still want to meet him?
Hyung-sung switched up immediately.
We need to find a way out of here.
The door was broken and wouldn't budge. They had to find another door. It was now or never. The banging on the door continued and got louder and louder and louder. Sanger yelled to Doctor.
Over here!
Doctor tried to open the door, but that was broken too. However, it was their only choice. The only door that they would ever have the slightest chance at opening. Doctor noted that he could use his coins to increase his strength like he had last time. But who knows what could happen if he recklessly used them.
Hyung-sung, use your skill. What?
Doctor activated the character profile and recognized the supporting constellation as the same in the novel. He needed Hyung-sung to use a Sigma, Great Mountain Push, but couldn't call it a Sigma as he would appear to know too much.
There must be a skill you can use right now. Well, I do have one, but I don't know how to use it. Just imagine yourself using it.
Shouted Doctor. Hyung-sung shouted and pushed open the door, his body glowing green.
It worked! It really worked!
Hyung-sung Lee has begun to trust you. Your understanding of Hyung-sung Lee has increased.
Doctor noted that the door to the cabin would break soon, but if his memory was right, the door wasn't the problem. The document appeared once more in front of them.
Gosh, I knew this would happen. I told you earlier to stay put.
Han Myung-go, scared that he was to be killed, grasped his head and said that he knew that they should have stayed inside.
I guess I have no other choice. You're very lucky, human beings.
The second scenario has arrived. Sub-scenario escape. Get across the collapsed bridge and enter Oksu Station. Time limit 20 minutes.
Sanger shouted out to Doctor.
Something doesn't feel right. It says collapsed bridge, but the bridge isn't... Don't worry about it. Just run. Hurry!
Sanger was right. The bridge was still intact because they had gotten off the train too early. In other words, the bridge would definitely collapse. They were going to cut it close, but it would seem like they would make it. At the base of the bridge, a whirlpool formed and an ichthyosaur appeared. But it wasn't just an ordinary ichthyosaur. It was a sea commander. It opened its jaws and began to attack the bridge. There was only about 200 yards left. Doctor was sure that they would be able to cross the bridge before it collapses.
It's not fun if the game is too easy.
The Doctor reappeared.
Let's shake things up a bit.
He snapped his fingers.
The difficulty of the scenario has been adjusted. The evil thoughts of the dead have returned. Black ether is rising from the surrounding earth.
The dead bodies began to rise.
Zombies!
Exclaimed Sanger.
Demonic beings have now been resurrected.
Hyung-sung Lee and Gil-young Lee made it across the bridge. It was now just Doctor, Sanger, and Myung-go left. The sea commander bit into the bridge and it collapsed.
Now what?
Doctor thought. Suddenly a message appeared.
Someone has received the blessing of a constellation. The constellation's blessing has activated Deus Ex Machina in this scenario.
A bridge of light materialized, connecting the two sides of the now broken bridge. Doctor was in disbelief. Deus Ex Machina was a power that allowed a constellation to intervene at a great cost. In this case, it came in the form of a bridge that anyone could cross so long as an even number of people were walking on it. Was it Sanger's supporting constellation who did this? Doctor wondered who a supporting constellation could be an activated character profile.
This person's profile cannot be browsed using character profile. This character does not have a registered character profile.
Doctor was in disbelief. Why couldn't he view her profile? Perhaps she had a special supporting constellation or maybe the mental barrier skill, but both were very unlikely at this point in time.
Behind you!
Sanger screamed. A fist collided with Doctor's head, sending him tumbling to the ground. The creature that had hit him was a tier 9 humanoid demon, a mutant creature inflicted by the black ether. They were once human and no different to zombies. Doctor noted that they are usually weak but can be powerful if their host happens to be someone strong. And of all people who Doctor had to fight, it was none other than him, Narum Kim. Doctor tried to activate the first level of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, but he was unable to as the character no longer possessed the consciousness. He knew this would happen. He couldn't fight, so all he could do was prioritize getting to the bridge. However, there were 3 of them. Someone would have to stay behind and die. Before Doctor could make a decision, Myung-go Han had already picked up Sanger and started to cross the bridge. Doctor was the one who was left behind.
The constellation's secretive plotter is impressed by your foolishness. The constellation demonic judge of fire is touched by your selflessness. You have been gifted 100 coins.
Doctor noted Myung-go Han walking funny and tried to activate character profile, but was unable to do so. He noted that if he remembered correctly, then Myung-go was using a stigma that belonged to the constellation Limping Trickster, someone who does not give incarnations access to the mental barrier stigma. That means that there was there's no way Myungo could have that skill. At this point, it is also revealed what stigma is. Special power endowed to incarnations by their constellations. How hadn't Doksha realized it earlier? The reason why Doksha's character profile hadn't worked on Sanga or Myungo was because they weren't characters from TWSA. Doksha was now stuck on the bridge alone, and grabbing a demon to come with him wouldn't work. He now only had 15 minutes left. The Dokkaebi appeared and pitied Doksha, asking if any constellations wanted to bless him so he could survive, but none responded. Doksha couldn't hold out anymore. If he had just one combat skill, then maybe he could survive.
Personal skill, bookmark activated. Activating character bookmarks. Available bookmark slots, free. Loading the list of characters that can be activated. List of bookmark characters. 1. Delusional Demon Namroon Kim, understanding 25. 2. Steelblade Hyungsung Lee, understanding 35.
Doksha had read over 3,000 chapters of TWSA but had never once heard of this skill, but he immediately knew how it worked.
Activate bookmark number 1.
Memories of Namroon Kim flooded through his mind.
Activating bookmark number 1. The activation time has been shortened due to low level of the bookmark skill. Activation time 1 minute. Your understanding of the character is low, so the character's skills were only partially activated. Activating Grimdark Awakening level 1.
A purple aura enveloped Doksha's fist as he began to mimic Namroon Kim's movements on the train, effortlessly fighting off many of the demons in his path and eventually killing the one who gave him the skill in the first place, Namroon Kim. As the zombified body of Namroon Kim dropped to the floor, he exclaimed that he didn't want to die.
Your understanding of Namroon Kim has increased. Deactivating bookmark number 1. Time remaining 10 minutes 11 seconds.
Suddenly there was an explosion in the distance and zombies flew into the air, clearing a path towards Doksha. An ominous man walked towards Doksha wearing all black with his head tilted down.
Who the hell are you?
He asked. Doksha knew he didn't stand a chance against this guy.
Character profile.
There's too much information about this character. Convert a character profile to character summary. Name, Jeonhyuk Yu. Attributes, the Regressor 3rd round. Programmer, rare. Personal skill, Eye of the Sage level 8, Close Combat level 8, Weapons Proficiency level 8, Mental Barrier level 5, Crowd Control level 5, Reasoning level 5, Lie Detection.
The man grabbed Doksha by the neck and picked him up.
How are you still alive?
He asked. The man was Jeonhyuk Yu, the regressor and main protagonist of 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse. Meanwhile, Hyungsung Lee attempted to observe Doksha but was obscured by a barrier similar to the one on the subway. Sanga thought about Doksha, worried, hoping that he was okay. Back on the other side of the bridge, Doksha was in Jeonhyuk's grasp, hovering over the edge of the bridge.
Name. What is your name?
Asked Jeonhyuk.
He's so full of himself.
Doksha thought.
He's definitely acting like the protagonist. Doksha Kim. What a strange name. I get that a lot.
Jeonhyuk slammed a fist into Doksha's stomach.
You have a strong body. I see you figured out how to use the coins.
Doksha noted that Jeonhyuk was already so strong and even so after just one mission.
Don't waste your breath. Just answer the questions I ask you, got it?
Doksha was hoping that this wouldn't happen. He remembered that in the early chapters of TWSA, Jeonhyuk was the most dangerous character. He was a regressor, someone with the power to restart from the beginning every time they died, and by now, his 3rd regression, he had already lost his humanity. Doksha noted that Jeonhyuk, who he is now facing, would never hesitate to do what it takes to get what he wants.
Well?
Asked Jeonhyuk.
Fine, but show me some respect.
Replied Doksha.
Why should I?
Doksha received another punch to the gut, but this time stopped it with his hands.
Sorry, but you're younger than me, programmer Jeonhyuk Yu, so you're the one who should be showing me some respect.
Jeonhyuk Yu has become cautious of you.
Do you know who I am? Of course, I work for a game company.
Doksha knew that that was a lie. Up until now, Jeonhyuk hadn't even existed.
You're pretty famous. I used to be a fan of yours.
Jeonhyuk's fame was just a setting in the novel, but when Doksha claimed to be a fan, he wasn't lying. Throughout the 3,000 chapter long journey, Doksha liked him, hated him, resented him, and cheered for him.
A fan? I haven't heard that in a while. I'll forgive you for your impudence, but that won't change anything. I can see that. I have one question for you. How did you survive the subway?
Doksha knew that he would ask this.
If I tell you, will you let me live? Asked Doksha. That depends on your answer.
Doksha knew he was lying. He could tell just by looking at his face. He needed something to say and quick if he wanted to live.
Your understanding of Jeonhyuk Yu has increased. You already have high understanding of this character. You have unlocked level 2 of your personal skill, Omniscient Viewpoint. Activate your personal skill.
As it activated, Doksha became able to read Jeonhyuk's thoughts. Jeonhyuk wondered why it was that Doksha survived. After all, in the world he knew, only Hyungsung Lee and Namroon Kim were supposed to survive. He needed information of just who Doksha was, and if he deemed the man as a threat, then he would kill him.
How I managed to survive is, you killed the scenario by killing insects. I was lucky. I was able to spot the kid with insects because he fell due to an explosion in the car in front of us.
Jeonhyuk thought about how his future had changed. In the world he knew, there was supposed to be a battle to the death in subway car 3807, and only Namroon Kim and Hyungsung Lee should have survived. Jeonhyuk wondered if he caused this, if it was because he had started killing with explosions unlike previous runs. But even still, Jeonhyuk thought that something wasn't right. Doksha was too calm for a newbie. He deducted that Doksha must have been behind the death of Namroon Kim and decided that Doksha was dangerous.
If you're done with your questions, can you let me go? Let's move on to Oksu Station together. We're running out of time. Not so fast. Everything fixed too perfectly.
Jeonhyuk activated his double S-grade skill, Eye of the Sage, a skill that allowed him to view someone's attribute window and hidden information. As far as Doksha knew, it was the highest grade detection skill.
Maybe this is for the best.
Doksha thought. After all, he didn't know what attributes or skills he had. If Jeonhyuk found out, then he could too.
Personal skill 4th wall activated. The 4th wall has detected the detection of the Eye of the Sage.
Blue electricity shocked Jeonhyuk's eye and he groaned.
Personal skill, the fourth wall has blocked the eye of the sage.
You... What are you?
Doctor couldn't believe it. He had a skill that could block Eye of the Sage.
I have to kill him here and now.
Jungkook thought. Doctor's skill had now complicated things. He had to change up his game plan if he wanted to survive.
You need a trustworthy ally. You can't clear scenario 46 on your own. You know that, right?
He shouted. Jungkook paused for a moment.
How did you know that? Are you also a regressor?
Asked Jungkook.
What matters now isn't who I am. What's important is that I can be useful to you.
Jungkook knew he wasn't a regressor. If he was, then Jungkook would have already known.
Jungkook, I know the future that you don't know.
Jungkook has activated the lie detection skill. The lie detection skill has verified that you are telling the truth.
Jungkook was in disbelief.
Could it be? There's another prophet other than Anna Croft in Korea?
Prophet was the only attribute in TWSA which allowed one to view the future. As far as Doctor knew, there was only one prophet in the entire story, that being the American Anna Croft.
By any chance, are you able to use future sight?
Asked Jungkook.
Something like that.
Replied Doctor.
So you knew I would be here? Asked Jungkook. Yes. Jungkook, I know you have a special power. You also know what's going to happen in the future, right? But you also know that your knowledge of the future is incomplete.
Doctor noted that regressors only knew the future because they had repeated their lives several times over. But if they acted on the information they knew, then their future would change drastically. Eventually, all regressors would reach a future that they didn't know.
Make me your companion and I can complete your knowledge of the future.
Jungkook began to consider the proposition. If Doctor really was a prophet, then it would be helpful to bring him along. But could he trust him?
I've made up my mind. I'll make you my companion.
40 seconds remaining until the end of the scenario.
Jungkook once again picked up Doctor by his collar and carried him elsewhere.
Wait, can you let...
As they began to cross the bridge, Doctor's ability deactivated due to excessive concentration. At that moment, Jungkook stopped.
One last question. If you really are a prophet, you'd be able to tell your own future, right?
He picked up Doctor and carried him over to the edge of the bridge, just above the Sea Commander's jaws.
Will I be letting go or not?
If this was really the same Jungkook he had read of, then he knew what Jungkook would do.
Let me tell you a couple of things first. First, I'm not your lackey, so treat me as your equal. Second, just as I cooperate with you, you have to promise to cooperate with me. I see. So your answer? Just let go and get lost, you bastard.
Jungkook let go of Doctor and he fell right into the mouth of the Sea Commander. As he was falling, Jungkook commented him on his foretelling.
You really are a prophet.
With that, Doctor took his final look at Jungkook.
That bastard.
The mouth of the Sea Commander closed.
You have failed the scenario.
Doctor fell into a pool of water inside the Sea Commander. He was struggling to hold his breath, but he couldn't pass out no matter what. Suddenly the water cleared and he fell into a chamber with walls made of flesh, the Sea Commander's stomach. Doctor pulled out his phone and activated the flashlight. Blood, bodies, water, and rubble were strung around the Sea Commander's stomach. Doctor climbed onto some nearby rubble.
Ugh, companion my ass,
said Doctor.
Is this some kind of test? Does he want me to prove my worth to him as a companion?
Doctor understood why Jungkook had dropped him. He had never made a true companion since he had failed the first round. Because of his nature as a regressor, he was powerful and revered as a savior. This naturally led him to become a lone wolf. To Jungkook, all humans were either his subordinates or his enemies, so this was merely a test so that Doctor could prove he could be treated as Jungkook's equal.
Open message log.
Doctor thought.
You have failed to clear the scenario. Proceeding with checkout. 100 coins have been deducted for using the channel usage fee. 100 coins have been deducted for using the channel fee. The Constellation, Prisoner of the Golden Headband, agrees with your provoking remarks. You have been gifted 100 coins. The Constellation, Demonic Judge of Fire, nods at your decision. The Constellation, Secretive Plotter, is disappointed with your flippant remarks.
Doctor sat upright with his legs crossed on the rubble. He noted that the Sea Commander had now begun to move. Doctor knew he didn't have all that much time. He knew that according to TWSA, the stomach of an ichthyosaur starts to secrete acid around 3 minutes after ingesting their prey. There was a bright flash of light and the Dokkaebi reappeared.
Haha, I'm a bit disappointed. It was starting to get interesting. The Dokkaebi?
Doctor asked.
Yes, it's me. But wait, you don't seem flustered at all despite your situation. Because I've been waiting for you. Huh?
The Dokkaebi was confused.
Just you wait, Jungkook.
Doctor thought.
Not only will I get out of here in one piece, but I will also obtain the power to stand as your equal.
Once Doctor escaped, Jungkook would have no choice but to accept him as a companion.
You've been waiting for me?
Said the Dokkaebi.
Yes. Have you come to collect coins from me? Coins? Since I failed the scenario, you have to take my coins as penalty. Coins are not your life? If you were going to take my life, then the penalty for failure would have said death instead of the 3 question marks. Doesn't that mean there's room for negotiation? Ha ha ha, interesting. I'm impressed you managed to come to such a conclusion from that tiny clue. No wonder all the constellations had their eyes on you. As you've said, you can buy your way out of the failed sub-scenarios using coins. The price will be 5,100. That's how much it will cost for you to save your neck.
That was far too much for Doctor. The Dokkaebi was messing with him. That was the exact amount of coins he had.
That's too expensive,
replied Doctor.
Then you can go ahead and die. I'm doing you a favor,
said the Dokkaebi.
If you don't want to pay up, you can just call it quits here and now. Then just kill me. What? I said just kill me. You can't, can you?
Doctor knew that the Dokkaebi couldn't kill him. After all, it was thanks to his performance that so many constellations were invested in his stream. Not only that, but if the Dokkaebi was to kill him, the Dokkaebi wouldn't have gone through the trouble to see him.
Haha, you're pissing me off. Hey, just what is it you're trying to pull? Low-grade Dokkaebi Beyond.
The Doctor was shocked.
How's your career as a streamer going?
Asked Doctor.
How do you know my name? Not well, I assume, replied Doctor. The constellations have been rather stingy as of late, haven't they? Who the hell are you? How can a mere human know about this?
A few constellations have become suspicious of your identity. The eyes of the constellations' secretive clutter sparkle at your plan.
Why don't you shut off the channel for a minute so we can talk?
Byung did as Doctor said.
So let's hear what you have to say.
Asked Byung.
How do you know about the star stream when you're only a human?
The Star Stream. It was a system in which footage is broadcasted all over the entire galaxy. The subscribers were the constellations watching from galaxies far, far away. The actors were humans like Doctor, and the Dokkaebi, called streamers, were the storytellers that bridged the two.
That's not what's important right now,
replied Doctor.
What? Byung, don't you want to be the Dokkaebi King? What are you? Don't you want to surpass the likes of Dokgak or Gildo and become the best streamer there ever was? Dokkaebi Byung? Doctor extended his hand. I'm asking you to enter a contract with me, and I will make you the Dokkaebi King.
Byung burst out laughing.
You must be out of your mind. I should have realized when you rejected all the offers from the constellations.
That was right.
During the sponsor selection, Doctor hadn't chosen a constellation. I don't know how you know about the star stream, but I can't accept your offer. I'm a Dokkaebi, not a constellation, so I can't be your supporting constellation. I don't think you get it. I never asked you to sponsor me. Huh? It's not your power I'm after, but your channel. My channel? Let me break it down for you. I want to enter into an exclusive contract with your channel. Wait, are you saying you want to enter into a stream contract with me? Yes. A stream contract was a contract entered between constellations and Dokkaebis. For a share of the coins earned, a Dokkaebi hosts an incarnation of a constellation on its channel. In return, the Dokkaebi who owns the channel receives a share of the coins earned by the incarnation as commission. Doctor noted that usually incarnations have no say regarding this type of contract. Although they get sponsored, the constellations still view them no more as slaves. You've got quite the sense of humor, don't you? I don't know what you've heard about it, but how dare a mere human mention the stream contract? Especially when you don't have a supporting constellation. That's exactly why you should accept my offer. Why do you think the constellations joined the Starstream channels in the first place?
Doctor notes that there are two types of subscribers in the Starstream. The first being the thrill seekers who hop through channels in search of entertainment. The second being incarnation seekers who look through incarnations to sponsor.
If you want your channel to flourish, you have to satisfy at least one of the two groups. Either you make your stream as entertaining as possible or try to find an incarnation that interests your subscribers. Rather impressive for a human. But how does that concern you? What if there was a channel that could both entertain its subscribers and showcase interesting incarnations? There's no way that's possible. Constellations that are looking for incarnations to sponsor eventually leave the channel as soon as the sponsor selection is over. But what if there is an incarnation who refuses to take on a supporting constellation? And what if that incarnation outperforms all other incarnations despite not having a supporting constellation? Is that why you didn't choose a supporting constellation? Yes, that's right. I'm sure the constellations are in an uproar right now, asking you to open the channel. They're all probably dying to know who it was who dared to stand up against the regressor. Stop, what are you? You're so full of yourself. Mere humans don't stand a chance against incarnations with supporting constellations. That's just how it is. That's exactly why I'm planning on proving to you from this moment on. All you have to do is shut your mouth and do as I say. I'm telling you, I'll make you the Dokkaebi King. Let's start with the checkout since you failed the scenario. If you pay me 5,100 coins, what do you want about? I didn't fail. I must have fulfilled the condition right about now. Doctor stood up and the Sea Commander's stomach began to rumble. Open the channel. It's going to start.
A hidden scenario has arrived. Clear condition: slay the Sea Commander Ishioso and escape. Time limit: 10 days. Penalty for failure: death.
Byung reopened the channel and tried to calm the constellations. This wasn't in the Manwha, but just prior, Doctor had asked Byung to open the Dokkaebi shop and was now browsing it. The Dokkaebi shop was the shop for constellations that could only be opened while the channel was open.
Hey, how about a little help? The search button is on the bottom right corner. Thanks. Search item: Ancient Dragon. Holy crap, how do you know about the Ancient Dragon? I just said any cool name that came to mind.
Doctor wasn't interested in buying it. Not only was it already sold out, but according to TWSA, the owner of it was in Italy. He sure was a lucky guy having such a rich sponsor.
Search Archdemon's Eyeball. Search White Star Weapon Aura.
Some time passes and Doctor is holding 4 bags of the item Hammer Seahorse's Mucus and 4 of the item Stone Hog's Sharp Thorn. Byung asks Doctor what use he has for these miscellaneous items, to which Doctor says that he'll find out.
You have spent 800 coins.
You know that there are no refunds, right? I know.
The constellation's secretive clutter is curious about your plan. The constellation Abyssal Blackflame Dragon is displeased with your every move. Channel hashtag BI-7623 is closed.
I hope you didn't forget that I haven't agreed to your offer yet. Yes, we agreed to negotiate the terms of the contract only after I successfully cleared the scenario. Well, I shall get going. Let's see if you can clear the scenario. Good luck, I guess.
Byung snapped his fingers and started to disappear.
May the story bless you.
Doctor immediately got to work. He didn't have much time until the stomach acid would start to secrete, so he had to be quick. He emptied the mucus out of one of the bags and rubbed it all over one of his thorns. At that moment, the stomach acid started to secrete. Doctor stabbed the thorn into the wall of the monster's stomach and began to climb the Sea Commander's stomach using the thorns almost like ice picks. Below Doctor, at the bottom of the stomach where he had once been, was a whirlpool of stomach acid dissolving anything it touched. Doctor covered himself and the rest of the mucus from his bags to protect himself from the acid. What seemed like days passed.
How long has it been?
Doctor wondered. Had he overestimated himself? He wasn't the protagonist, only a reader. A doctor, meaning reader in Korean. He thought about his mother. Was she okay? He wished that it was a dream. Whilst he still didn't like the way his old life had been, at least he didn't have to risk his life in the stomach of a giant fish. As he continued to climb, Byung reappeared.
Wow, I have to hand it to you.
Several constellations are impressed by your survival skills. The constellations have gifted you 100 coins.
It was the 4th day of the hidden scenario.
I had no idea that you would use the thorns like that. That was unexpected.
It was at that moment that Doctor fell to the floor with a thud. The Sea Commander was dead.
The hidden scenario has ended. You have received 9,000 coins as a reward. You were the first to successfully hunt a tier 7 monster. You have received 1,000 coins as an achievement reward.
Doctor lay down and huffed and puffed. He was alive. Byung looked at the thorn and commented about how Stonehog's sharp thorns have the ability to pass and then dry their prey to death. Byung, however, had never thought Doctor would have used it in this manner.
A few constellations smile knowingly. Several constellations now understand your decision. The constellations complain, asking you to say what you'll do out loud so they are made aware of your actions beforehand.
Byung was also shocked because prior to that day, he hadn't even known that the mucus of the hammer seahorse could protect against the ichthyosaur's stomach acid. Throughout the 4-day-long scenario, Doctor had covered himself in mucus and was forced to drink the bodily fluids of the ichthyosaur to survive. In the end, it was a test of his willpower.
Your pain is partially nullified by your personal skill, the 4th wall.
Byung once again started talking to the constellations, but Doctor interrupted him.
Just open the damn Dokkaebi shop.
Some time passed and Doctor slammed a thorn onto the ground of the now dry stomach, making a hole and revealing a glowing blue orb.
You have found the ichthyosaur's nucleus.
I'm going to sell this. Put it up for trade on the Dokkaebi auction house. And I won't buy anything else but the Broken Faith. And I want to buy... Wait, before that. Dear Constellations, we'll be right back after this advertisement.
Byung presented Doctor with the conditions of the stream contract. The conditions were as follows.
Incarnation Dr. Kim will be obliged to abide by the following rules until he either clears all the scenarios or dies. Incarnation Dr. Kim cannot choose a supporting constellation until he either clears all the scenarios or dies. Incarnation Dr. Kim must only be active on Dokkaebi Byung's channel. Dokkaebi Byung and Dr. Kim must share all the profits when the stream contract is in place. The ratio at which the profits are shared will be agreed upon through mutual agreement.
I wasn't sure at first, but watching you clear the scenario helped me make my mind.
Doctor noticed that he was getting a better deal than he'd initially expected. However, there was one clause that was bugging him.
The contract is missing the most important part. The ratio. Oh, haha, right. How about 50-50, and I won't charge you for the channel usage to boot. We'll split the coins, you are gifted in half. For example, if I get 100 coins, we'll both take 50 each. Do you think I'm an idiot? But this is the market rate in the industry.
Because a stream contract was usually between a Dokkaebi and Constellation, usually an Incarnation would make an appearance on the Dokkaebi's channel and the Constellation would share the gifts gifted by other Constellations with the Dokkaebis who own the channel. But
I don't have a supporting constellation. And when constellations give coins to an Incarnation who doesn't have a supporting constellation, they have to pay a hefty commission fee to the Dokkaebi. I'm sure you've already made quite a profit thanks to me. I'll take all the coins. What? That's preposterous! How about you take 70%? Either I take all, or I move on to another channel. I heard Gildel's been doing well for himself these days. 80%, that's all I can give you. It's all or nothing. Yeah. The advertisements will be over soon. Can't you see that the constellations are complaining? Fine, damn it. So you'll sign the contract? Oh, and one more thing. But now, I get a contract fee too. Give me 5,000 coins.
Sometime later, Doctor swims out of the ichthyosaur and climbs onto solid land. It was his first time breathing fresh air in 4 days. Originally, he thought that it would take him 2 days to defeat the Sea Commander. Still, 4 days wasn't bad considering it's the same amount of time it took Jungkook to defeat it on his 4th round. Not only that, but he had managed to sign a stream contract with the Dokkaebi and made 5,000 coins in the process, so it was not all a bad start. It was funny. Prior to the apocalypse, Doctor would have never been able to get someone to sign anything.
Personal skill, the 4th wall is still active.
The skill was odd to Doctor. Back when he was talking to Byung, he had asked Byung if he could fix his attribute window not opening. But when Byung had attempted to use system interference on him, it was cancelled by Doctor's skill, the 4th wall. He didn't expect that it would be able to block the Dokkaebi system interference. Doctor stepped through a blue hologram and a message appeared.
You have entered the area of the main scenario. The scenario area is highly contaminated. Hold your breath and get quickly underground. You have been exposed to the poisonous fog. The constellation Abyssal Blackfang Dragon smiles insidiously. This was where the real game had now begun.
Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope I explained this first arc well enough. This is the combination of the first 3 episodes. If enough support is given in this video, I will continue to make these as it took me almost 30 hours just to make this. As always, I'm always open to feedback if I missed anything important, but in this case I would also recommend you all to go read the manhwa or the novel as it is very good. I'm not sure if I'll keep uploading, so I don't want to pressure you all into liking and subscribing, but it would still be appreciated. Also, as you saw, the voice acting by me was terrible, so I'm thinking that if I continue this series, I may get other people to voice different characters. However, I have no money to pay, and whether I continue this series depends on the support. Let me know in the comments if anyone would be interested. Anyways, that's it for this arc.